relationship between the five great nations, despite it being a time of peace, is still a pretty much fragile one if we're being honest. All it would take was one major violation of the treaty agreed upon by the five great nations, or one feudal lord ordering one of the Kages to break the treaty, and the peace as we know it would come to a close. We've seen glimpses of this in the past. Kakashi Hiden saw Tsunade being visibly pissed off with Inoki when Inoki came very close to killing Kakashi during that novel, when the airship that was developed in the Land of Fire was coming close to crashing into the Hidden Stone Village. We saw an emergency 5 Kage summit during Naruto the Last, when the other Kages went off on the Raikage for creating a chakra cannon that was powerful enough to destroy an entire nation if it were used. This was a cannon that was stated to be strong enough to destroy the moon. So taking out a nation will be a pretty easy thing. Now 13 years later, with Naruto Uzumaki as Hokage, Konoha has unknowingly committed what has been deemed an act of war and a violation of the treaty between the nations. It's ironic when you think about it. So 17-year-old Naruto entered the war to end all wars, but 32-year-old Naruto almost unknowingly started a war during the time of peace that Naruto literally lost an arm trying to establish. The irony of that whole situation right there. In today's edition of Shikamaru Shinden, we're going to take a look at the moment where it was revealed that Konoha had attempted an act of war and what Naruto's response to these accusations was. Now, the information is given to us in the Naruto light novels, Shikamaru Shinden, Mourning Clouds, which I'll leave links to in the description box for anyone who wants to read the novel and do so in a way to help support the channel. In the scene I'm going to share with you guys, Shikamaru watches as Kurotsuki pressures Naruto during the 5 Kage summit that was called to discuss the events of the Momoshiki invasion, and Shikamaru quickly notices that Kurotsuki was luring Naruto into a trap. She wasn't pissed just because Konoha withheld potentially world-ending information. That's a pretty big deal, don't get me wrong, which is also a violation of their treaty since they agreed to share all of Otsutsuki clan related intel, but that was just the opening shot. Naruto went from apologizing to being on the defensive, stammering as he gets pressured by his Kage peer, looking every bit like the Kage with the least experience during the meeting that Naruto actually is. It should be noted, Naruto is the strongest Kage there, but he's the least experienced Kage. While his Hokage was on the defensive, Shikamaru reads the words that were spoken by Kurotsuki very closely, reading in between the lines, and comes up with the conclusion of her anger just before she voices the reason for her displeasure. It's the scientific ninja weapon tools. They were seen as an act of war by the Kage, of military expansion during a time when the Kages had agreed to continue depowering their own militaries. To put this in real world terms for you, that would be like America or Russia violating the START Treaty and one of them continuing to build nuclear warheads when they're both supposed to be destroying some of their nuclear arsenal. The reason for this is that these ninja tools could be used to shoot off high-level ninjutsu without any type of training at all. In theory, if all war broke out, Naruto could just make 1,000 shadow clones and put the lava-style Rasen shurikens into the ninja weapon tools and give them to 1,000 ninjas to use these tools. The very power that Naruto used when he used his 6-pass mode against Madara and used the lava style Rasen Shuriken. It gave Konoha a dangerous added advantage in power. Even worse, the development of these tools was kept in secret from the other Kages, which is what truly angered the Tsuchikage because it fit a pattern of Konoha withholding information when it was convenient for them. So with the scene being set, let's dive right into the discussion, and it's here that I quote, "The tool that your son used." Kurotsuki's glare grew even icier. "You mind telling us about that?" "The scientific ninja tools. The jutsu printed on small scrolls and ejected from a band wrapped around the wrist, which allow anyone to use all kinds of extremely difficult techniques. Katasuke, the leader of the scientific ninja tool team, had developed this new technology. In order to appeal to a wider community for its actual use in battle, he had persuaded Naruto's son Boruto to use it during the Chunin exams. With this tool, anyone can use Naruto's Rasengan, Sasuke Shidori, or Shikamaru's Shadow Paralysis Jutsu, which meant that the skill and value of the individual ninja's potency would be diminished if not lost completely. After all, it was only after the constant training that a ninja was able to discover their own personal jutsu. This was precisely why each ninja was extremely particular about their own techniques. It was only natural. the crystallization of their personal ninja path was this very jutsu. It wasn't something for just anyone to go and use. Shikamaru remained silent and stared at Kurotsuki. The Tsuchikage stood up and glared at Naruto, her hands still on the table, shaking. What exactly was Konoha thinking developing something like this in secret? Kurotsuki demanded. The scientific ninja team was just, Naruto began. Why do you intend to pacify us with excuses? Kurotsuki demanded further. Most likely, Kurotsuki had come to the meeting planning to attack Naruto. She had clearly intended to destroy him this time. Her firm resolve was the cause of the strange tension in the room, the unpleasant aura that had been assaulting Shikamaru's senses from the beginning. Every word that she was saying had been likely very carefully scripted and memorized, which meant they were still in the very early stages of this game. Kurotsuki moved her pieces carefully, but her attack was too single-minded, harping on a single note. She was coming at them with every piece that she had straight out the gate, not waiting for them to make a single move. Shikamaru knew if they kept listening without speaking, Kurotsuki would reveal what she was really after soon enough. Crossing his arms to hide his black gloved fist, Shikamaru watched the meeting unfold. If that guy with the glasses hadn't stepped in, we never would have found out about any of these ninja tools. The ninja villages only learned of them because of his vanity. Who's to say that Konoha isn't developing other techniques in secret as well? Kurotsuki spat. Every village is working out ways to make life better. Naruto protested desperately, looking over at the other Kages. We're not talking about a useful tool here. This is a weapon. I can't just sit here and say nothing like the rest of you when I think about a tool like that being perfected and given to all the ninja in Konoha. Kurotsuki glanced over at the other Kages. After all, this thing could make a genin into a Naruto. With that technology strapped onto the wrist, pretty much anyone could lash out with jutsu on par with the kekkei genkai. Normally, ninja possess kekkei genkai of a single nature, but the chakras of people with kekkei genkai contain 2 or more natures. Thus, they were able to use jutsu the average person could not. Even through laborious training, kekkei genkai were the wall that separated the average from the extraordinary. Why would you ever need to develop a tool like that? The corners of Kurotsuki's lips curled up slightly as she glared at Naruto. End quote. Now, I know that's a lot of information to dig through right there, but even the biggest Naruto lover gotta put down the pom-poms and gotta admit for a second, she's got a point here. She basically voiced the concerns that a lot of fans have about the creation of ninja tech. She put it perfectly. These tools meant that any Konoha genin could have suddenly been transformed into a watered down version of Naruto, and using a ninja tool could fire off all of Naruto's deadliest jutsu. Now, before anyone jokes about Rasengans, I'll tell you, you need to watch my video on every Rasengan ever created and look at the damn near 20 variations of the Rasengan that Naruto's created. She even makes the point about kekkei genkai, which are a ninja village's greatest weapons if we're being honest here. Kekkei genkai are jutsu or bloodline traits, and they could be stored into these weapons in theory once they're perfected. Before this Boruto era that we're in currently, things were a lot darker. Kekkei genkai were stolen from other nations as a way to power up individual villages. It's why killing a Hyuga and taking the Byakugan was such a big deal, because of the Hyuga clan's kekkei genkai. It's why people want to kill an Uchiha clan member and take their Sharingan. It's why kidnapping a shinobi would say lava release and forcing them to breed with the most powerful ninja in an enemy village, why things like that were done, so the children would grow up with an alliance to another village, and the kekkei genkai trait would be passed down to that new village throughout the generations to come. Those abilities could now be used by ninja tech, eliminating any edge that other villages might have if war were to break out. She's basically saying what fans have said for 6 years now, ever since ninja tech was introduced in 2015 in the Boruto movie, which was essentially ninja tech is too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Shikamaru acknowledges this and even goes as far as to actually step in to defend Naruto in front of the other Kages, because Kurotsuki is hitting Naruto with haymakers and Naruto's back is against the wall at this point, because Shikamaru knows from reading the atmosphere with the change in the room that her words were starting to impact the other Kages, and he needed to step in before Naruto lost any favor with the other Kages. Naruto merely meant having these tools created as a way to inspire the next generation to train harder, thinking that if they use higher level ninjutsu that they themselves will want to train to master the jutsu, eventually make the jutsu their own. However, every good intention can be manipulated and the path to hell is paved with a ton of good intentions. So my question to you guys is, do you think that Kurosuke was right in this instance, or do you think that Naruto was right that ninja tech does have a place in the shinobi world? Let me know down in the comment section below, but as always guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day guys.